A child scrolling through a tablet, a museum where visitors photograph a masterpiece without ever truly looking at it, a sunset seen only through a phone screen. So before we ask, what is beauty? Perhaps we should ask a much more difficult question. Have you forgotten how to experience reality itself? Today, we live in an extraordinary age and never before have human beings seen so many images, right? And yet, perhaps never before have we experienced so little. So, a child often learns what a horse looks like before ever touching one. A forest is first encountered through a screen, the ocean through a photograph, the stars not looking from the sky but through from the pixels. So little by little, our relationship with reality begins to change, not because reality disappeared, but because its representations becomes more familiar than reality itself, right? So this is the beginning of what I call the plastic age. The plastic is not simply a material, right? The plasticity is a way of experiencing the world, a world that can be reshaped, edited, filtered, manipulated again and again, and even eventually something remarkable happens. We stop asking, is it real? And begin asking, does it look real? We no longer experience the world, we experience its image, its copy, its reflection, maybe its simulation. But maybe this is why beauty itself has become misunderstood today. When many people hear the word aesthetic, they think of appearance maybe. They think decoration, luxury, fashion, or even, it's gonna be really funny, but cosmetic surgery, right? But aesthetics never meant any of those things. The ancient Greek word, the aesthesis, simply means to perceive, to feel, to experience beauty. Was never only something you looked at, it was something that transformed the one who was looking. For example, think about that for a moment. Beauty does not begin inside the artwork, nor does it begin inside you. Beauty begins the moment a genuine encounter happens between the two. That is why great art is never decoration, it is an encounter. The painting does not move as you see, but you do, and the sculpture never speaks, yet somehow you begin to listen. A museum is not a building filled with a beautiful object. It is a place where reality slows down, where we are invited to stop consuming and start experiencing. Perhaps that is why our greatest tragedy today is not that beauty disappeared, of course. Perhaps we simply lost the ability to notice it. The artist does not create beauty from nothing. The artist helps us recover what we no longer notice. This is why great masterpieces never become old, because every generation forgets how to see, and every masterpiece teaches us again. Maybe the opposite of the beauty is not ugliness. Maybe the opposite of the beauty is distraction. And perhaps this is where this story becomes personal, because this is no longer only a conversation about museums or philosopher or paintings hanging on the walls. It is about us. It is about the way we walk through the world every single day. Think about it. When was the last time you looked at a tree without immediately trying to photograph it? When was the last time you listened to rain without doing something else at the same time? When was the last time you stood in front of a painting without reading the label first, without checking the artist's name, without asking how much it was worth, and simply allowed yourself to experience it? Because perhaps this is what we are slowly losing, not because the beauty itself, because the attention, and therefore our ability to experience beauty. It's one of the most important things. So we have more images than any civilization before us, and yet we are constantly searching for another one. Scroll, scroll, scroll. A masterpiece, a word, a beautiful face, a joke, a sunset, an advertisement, another masterpiece. Everything arrives through the same rectangle and everything disappears with the movement of one finger, and this is where the idea plasticity becomes much more serious. Because eventually we don't only manipulate objects, we begin manipulating our experience of them. We change the light, we change the colors, we change our faces, we change our environment, we change the sky, and sometimes we even change our memories of what happened. Until eventually, we have to ask, what was the original? And strangely enough, this takes us thousands of years backward. Imagine the first human being who picked up a stone and decided to shape it. At first, perhaps the purpose was entirely practical, a tool, maybe a heel, a vessel, something needed to survive. But then something extraordinary happened. Someone, somewhere, looked at an object that already worked and decided to make it beautiful. Now, I want to leave you with a question. Actually, several questions. What if beauty is not something we create? What if beauty already exists? What if the artist is simply the person who learns how to reveal it? And if that is true, then where exactly does beauty come from? Why does nature contain proportion, symmetry, harmony? Why is there something rather than nothing? And perhaps the strangest question of all, why is there a world here for us to experience in the first place? That question changes everything because now we are no longer asking what makes a painting beautiful. We are asking whether beauty belongs to existence itself, and that is where our next journey begins.